Found my pirate coin. Actually, it's a childhood souvenir from St. Augustine. Tails? So I learned a couple things doing the last video, and the first was, if you think there's a resource, if you think there's a photograph or a video clip of something you can use, you better make sure that exists before you start talking about it. Because I turned my dad's house into Oak Island looking for a couple photographs. I must have poured through about 50 albums and about 25 of those photograph packs that they used to send you, and I couldn't find them. So I texted my siblings and I said, hey, do you know where these photographs are? And they all of them said, yeah, I know the photographs you're talking about. I've seen them recently. But nobody knew where they were. So I thought I was going crazy, and I can't believe it, but I found the negatives. And I had to go get them developed. But there they were. My dad didn't even have that many negatives, but they were there. The second thing I learned is there's a website out there that has every single Radio Shack catalog ever put out scanned, and you can browse through them. I was able to find the exact photograph from my childhood of the metal detector I got. The exact picture I remember. And it's literally called RadioShackCatalogs.com. It's kind of unfathomable. I can't believe... Could you imagine saying to a guy, hey Jim, what are you doing this weekend? And he goes, I gotta go home. I scan about 20 Radio Shack catalogs for my website. Holy crap! Good for you. That's impressive. That's something to do. That's how you spend your weekend. And not only that, it got a YouTube channel. It's got way more subscribers than I do, and they've got old TV commercials. Wow, Radio Shack. Anyway, today I got to get through this quick because it's a lot of content. So I want to talk about moments of awe. In moments of awe, I've read a lot about them, and there's something. It's when you see something so grandiose and so majestic, it actually changes your psychology fundamentally forever. It changes your hardwiring in your brain. And I've been through some of these kind of things. I can't believe I waited till my 40s to see Niagara Falls. It's just a breathtaking thing, and when you see it, you just can't believe what you're witnessing. It definitely changes you. And I've been to Chichen Itza in Mexico several times, probably about 3, and the pyramid at Kukulkan, the Temple of Kukulkan, I believe it's called El Castillo in Spanish, but when you come around the corner from the ticket booth, it almost knocks me on my ass every time I've seen this thing. It's so incredible. Like, I can't even imagine what something like the pyramids of Giza would be like. And so, in Costa Rica, I met a girl named Kelly, and we went on a catamaran tour, a sunset catamaran tour, and dolphins came up and they swam beside the boat. And during that tour, the captain said, there's a whale underneath the ship. And you look down between the pontoons of the ship, and there was a giant whale fin, like a white whale fin, and it flipped over, and the whale came up in front of the boat, and it blew water across the entire bow, and everybody cheered. And what an incredible experience to go through. You can't repeat something like that. It changes you. And I went to this place in Morocco called Eight Ben Haddou. It's this ancient red city on a hill. And we had lunch in front of it. And it's just a breathtaking thing. It really... They've used it in films like Lawrence of Arabia, and they've used it in Game of Thrones. But what a thing to see. And so you want to talk about weird. My friend Allan, while we were there, he put a camel to sleep. Like, I don't know how you put a camel to sleep. He doesn't know either. He's from Denmark. He doesn't know anything about camels. And he said, I'm going to put this camel to sleep. And he walked over and he did it. So, that's weird. So, but I want to talk about something a little different. A little higher level. And I don't know how to explain it. I've heard it called Mysterium, Tremendum. And I'll just get into it. It's weird. In 2008, I went to this place in Arizona called the White Stallion Ranch. I wanted to learn how to horseback ride. Because why not? Learn how to horseback ride. It's the thing to do. It's I like the old cowboy movies, and you know, I'll do a video about that. And we were on a morning ride, and it was beautiful, a nice day, and we came over this ridge, and as we came over the ridge, the entire landscape, like the 180 from my entire visual perspective, it felt like it went, you know, the colors and the scenery and the sky went like into my eyeballs and down into my soul. And out loud, I said, "The face of God." And you know, the other writers heard me. They must have thought it was nuts, but it just felt like this sunk right down into me. And I'd never been through anything quite like that. So I don't know. That's the end. That's the end of the story. That's not the end of my story from Arizona, but you know, that's the end of that story. You know, it was the closest thing, or the first thing I'd ever had that I would call like a religious experience. I don't know what else to call it, because I said the face of God. So in 2012, I went to visit my friend Lynn. She lives in Manchester, England. And Lynn is an old friend from high school, and I go over to see her every couple of years, and we hang out. It's cool, you know. But when you go to see a friend overseas like that, or anywhere for that matter, you can't really just visit and just stay for a week. You can't. You don't want to be a pain in the ass. It's you know. So when I go to visit, I stay for a weekend, and I go do something, and then I go see her for the next weekend, and we party and hang out. And so to fill the time up during this week, I went on a hike through the Yorkshire Dales, and the Yorkshire Dales are beautiful. I'm gonna do a video about the Yorkshire Dales and my hike through there. I stayed at this great place in Kettlewell called the Bluebell Inn, and you know, just the food was top notch. You know, drank with the owner that night. I played with the pug dog named Patty. You tell his dog to go get the ball, and he'd run and get the ball, and you play fetch with him for a little while. So I kind of finished my walk through the Yorkshire Dales, and was going back to see Lynn for the weekend. And I was on this train, a train from York to Manchester, and it was a miserable day. It was rainy, and I was listening to this song on the train called "The Palaces of Montezuma" by Nick Cave. Well, it's Grinder Man is the name of the band, but it's really just Nick Cave. And suddenly everything started to spiral. You know, it started spinning in a colorful kaleidoscope, almost like the introduction to Doctor Who. Like you would see, like I was going down a vortex, and in that moment, it felt like forever. It went on, and it felt like I could see all of space and time, and everybody who ever lived, and everybody who would live, and everything that had ever happened, and everything that was going to happen. And you know, I thought, I'm dead. This is it. I'm dying. I'm having a stroke. I'm gonna die on a train in Manchester, and my friend's gonna have to send my body back to Canada, and this is gonna be a logistical nightmare. So this happened, a spiral, and I snapped out of it. Like it suddenly clicked out, and when it clicked out, I just grinned from ear to ear, and I looked around the train carriage, and there was an old man it was standing room only, and everybody was wet and sad, and there was an old guy standing there, and I said, like, what are you doing? Like, why are you standing there? Like, take my seat. Please take my seat. And he did, and everybody in the carriage kind of smiled and was like, well, that was pretty nice. I don't think it was a grand gesture, but, you know, because in that moment he was my father. It was really bizarre. And anyway, so this happened, and it changed me for about 3 or 4 months. For about 3 or 4 months I was in a euphoric mood, and nothing could shake me, and I felt happy all the time, and I felt like the world is the greatest place to ever live. Not that we know many other places to live, but I just thought, what a fantastic thing. But it was terrifying, because I thought, I'm having a stroke. I'm going to be dead. And it came out. I don't know how to explain that. I really, really don't. So, anyway, I don't know if you're still with me. You're going to go, that guy's a little crazy. Why am I watching this video? Here we go. In 2019, I got together with my travel group. We've been getting together in Europe every year for forever, just for a long, long time. And we did a tour to a place called Bachchovo Monastery in Bulgaria. It's up in the mountains or something. Anyway, in this monastery, they have an icon, and an icon is like a religious thing. It was basically, it's like a drawing or a painting, and it's Mary and Jesus, and it's in a frame. So it's Mary and Jesus, baby Jesus in a frame. That's what it is. And there's a line of people to see it, and as I was filming them, I suddenly felt really intrusive. I just couldn't look at this thing anymore. It was hurting my eyes. So the next day, I wake up, and I'd had this white bump on my eyelid for like 15 years, a little white bump. And it looked like a little fleck of ash, like a cigarette ash or something was stuck to my eyelid. I've looked through photos trying to find a picture of it where I could zoom in and see it, but I couldn't find any. And it was gone. It just wasn't there anymore. You know, there was maybe like a little red mark where it had been. And I tried everything with this. I'd rubbed my eyelid just to kind of get the oils out and shrink it down a little bit. And I'd researched, I put, what do you call them, like Epsom salt compresses on this thing, trying to get rid of it. Oh, it was gone. And I don't know how to explain that. That it seems too coincidental where I went to see a religious healing icon, and the next day something had changed in my face where I felt a discomfort the day before. So that was that. Really strange. So I'll get to the next one. The next one's not an out-of-body experience or anything to, oh, Hail Mary, well, it is Hail Mary, actually. Okay, we'll do this. In 1998, I moved from Vancouver back to Ontario, and I was broke, and I was staying on a friend's couch in Ottawa. It was like, it was a low point in my life. I didn't have any money. I just moved back. I didn't know where my things were, and you know, I was effectively homeless. Like, my mom would send me a couple bucks here and there, and I think it was like $240 in total or something like that over the months. And anyway, I was staying on a friend's couch, and he was married, so that's not good. It's really, like, to be that imposing on other people, and you're burdened at that point. So I was applying for work everywhere I could, and every day I'd go out to either apply for jobs or just to get out of the house, because, I mean, she was a housewife and she doesn't want, like, basement troll down there all day. She wants to get rid of me for a little while. Of course she does. And some days some days I go bug my ex-bass player's wife and we'd watch soap operas or something. But some days there was nothing to do, and I'd go for a little stroll. One day I found this park, and it was this pretty little park, and there was a statue of Mary in this park. And for the first time in my life, like, I get down on my hands and knees, and I said a hard prayer. I said, I need help. I'm in trouble. Like, I don't know what to do. Like, I'm so messed right now. Anyway, so, yeah. The next day I got on a Greyhound bus, and I had to go back to my hometown to get a transcript for a job. I don't know why this place wanted to see a transcript. They didn't believe me or something. Anyway, so I had to go back to the college that I'd graduated from to get a transcript. And as soon as I walked in the door of the college, I used to work at the college, and somebody came up and they said, "What are you doing here?" And I said, I got to get a transcript for a job in Ottawa. And they said, "Well, forget the transcript. Come and work for us." So I'm like, "Really?" And they're like, "Yeah, come to work tonight." So within 24 hours, I went from nothing to having a job. And then 2 days later, I'm working the night shift at the college, and the phone rings. And it's like 9 o'clock at night. And that's weird for me to be working, you know, my new old job that I used to work at, and the phone rings at 9 p.m. I mean, who the hell has this number other than my parents? And it's City Hall. And I used to work at City Hall. And they said, "Come work for us." So then I had two jobs within like a couple of days of this Mary statue. So anyway, that's a lot. It's a lot to digest. Yeah. Anyway, so in 2018, just a couple years ago, I guess, I went to Ottawa for my friend Jose's wedding, and the next day I said to my girlfriend, I said, "We got to go see this. I got to go find this park, because I don't know if this park is a figment of my imagination or what. You know, I've done a little research on the internet, and I think I have a clue where it is. It's in Vanier, and it might be over there." So we found the park, and it was behind a church. Like, I didn't remember that little detail at all. And we went into this park, and I said, "Thank you." I said, "Thank you so much for helping me when I was like down, when I was at the lowest point of my life. You really kicked it in there and helped me." Anyway, so there's a little side to that story. Sarah and I we weren't actively trying. It wasn't like she was taking like pills or anything or injections, but we thought we're getting on a little on in years, you know, having a kid might be nice, a baby. If we're gonna do it, now's the time. I mean, you're 40 or something, and I'm gonna turn 50 soon. And so we want to snuck that in there to the statue, because Sarah was pregnant shortly thereafter, like within 3 months. There we go. And so there's that. This statue, I owe Mary times 3 now, I guess. And to make a long story short, we have a little grotto we made in the backyard, and my daughter's middle name is Marion. So that's kind of the end of that story. It's not the end, though. It's not the end. I've got one more thing. Anyway, while Sarah was pregnant, probably about like 5 months in, and we were looking for a house, place to live. I was down, there's a big lake here called Lake Nipissing. I was out there, it was a nice sunny day, and I was out in the water, and suddenly, like, she wasn't there, it was just me. And suddenly, it wasn't just me, the beach was full, it was a nice day. But suddenly the water got really still, like creepy. Like, you go, why did the water turn to glass? Like, this is not normal, it's like 4 in the afternoon, why is there no waves? And it suddenly got really still. And I looked at the shore, there's nobody moving on the shore. And I can't hear anything, there's not even seagulls or anything. And I'm like, what's going on? Why is this happening? Like, who hit pause? And I'm not sure I know the difference between a whisper and a voice in your head, you know? It's hard to tell. Anyway, something whispered in my ear during this pause. It went, "Be more competent." And I was like, what? Be more competent? What does that mean? And then everything kind of went back to normal. It was almost like somebody hit unpause. You know one of those movies where they have bullet mode and then suddenly it comes out of bullet mode and everything speeds back up? Well, that happened. And so yeah, I don't know how to explain these kind of things. Mysterium, Tremendum. It's kind of when you're in awe and you're overpowered and yet a little terrified at the same time. I mean, the vortex one, the kaleidoscope vortex, it's just, I'll never get over that one. I was euphoric afterwards. So, yeah. Hope you don't think I'm too crazy with this story. And let me know if it's happened to you. I'd be interested to hear the stories or what you think. What's the difference? What's the difference between a moment of awe, shock, surprise, and got a genuine religious experience? Or, yeah, something similar. Be more competent.